right here, the start of the videos. Kazabon, welcome to Fluff. We have a lot to read today. The previous couple streams were all between like 11 to 15,000 words. This one is a 21,000 word stream, so I probably will be here till like 2:30 in the morning, most likely. At least 2:30 in the morning UK time. So let's not waste too much time and get started. I shall say. The author, we don't have we do have an author, but no author's page. They are called the TBAPB, and TBAP are all capitalized, whatever that means. They wrote the Void Singularity. Already starting off with what seems to be a lengthy one. Here we go. Perfect. Alright. Object Class Keter. Special containment procedures to facilitate containment. Area 141 has been established as site of discovery due to the extremely hazardous nature of SCP-2470, as well as the potential threat from pro-apocalyptic religious mystical movements and sects. On-site personnel are responsible for both containing the object and protecting Area 141 from any and all outside threats. And here we have containment zone structure. Oh boy. The fact that, it opened quite some... Okay. The center containment volume of Area 141. I think I'm going to open up the window actually because I'm already feeling warm. I closed it because I was worried it's going to get too cold, but now the pizza inside me and this thing is definitely activating all of my heat sensors. Okay, one more time. The central containment volume of Area 141 headquarters is a hyperboloid-shaped room with a lower base diameter of 55 meters, upper base diameter of 42 meters, and 36 meters in height. Walls and floor structures are doubled. The outer walls, no less than 4.5 meters thick, are made of high-density pre-stressed concrete, the inner ones. The inner ones, 1.5 meters thick, are made of special adamant brand high alloy steel, produced by Plant 45. The containment volume is fitted with 2 sets of service entrance airlocks with Class 6 explosion resistance blast doors and an additional emergency quick hardening compound sealing system. In the center of the containment volume, there are 2 concentric icosahedron shaped shells. Okay, you have to actually show me how that looks like. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Shaped shells installed. The diameters of the circumferences being 8 and 12 meters respectively. Then with the shells, I have a footnote that says polyhedron with 20 face. Oh, okay. Yeah. Thanks. The shells are supported by a 2-spool suspension system and are additionally surrounded by a Faraday cage made of superconducting cable with cells no larger than 5 centimeters across. High vacuum inside the shells, and the containment volume is maintained by 2 main and 6 backup heavy-duty turbomolecular pumps. The space between the inner and outer walls of the containment volume act as a 4 vacuum space and is pumped by 4 main and 4 reserve rotary vane pumps, which are capable of operating in accelerated mode for no less than 1 hour. Pumps are to be checked for serviceability on a weekly basis. Preventative replacements and scheduled maintenance are to be conducted every 2 months. Area 141's electric power supply consists of no fewer than 2 independent external sources and 2 main and reserve standalone power systems with at least a 100% margin of capacity each. The central shells are identical in structure except for respective dimensions, and both are constructed of 20 triangular titanium plates 1.5 centimeters thick, mounted on a steel skeleton and adjusted to minimize gap size along matching edges. One of the plates of each, I'm almost considering getting my scented candle on for how long this is gonna take. It smells like a hot spring in Japan, so just to although that might actually make me more exhausted, so no, let's leave it off for now. One of the plates of each shell is to be mounted on a guide rail serving as an access port, which can only be opened from the outside. The frames in question are to be connected to a stabilized voltage supply, maintaining a potential difference of 120 volts across the structure. The inner surfaces of the shells are covered with luminophore compounds that radiate when conducting electricity and produce afterglow for 20 minutes in case of power failure. Luminophores of different colors make up an image, a mimetically active visual representation of a so-called Weissschatten's imperceivable extra-dimensional paradox. Interesting, because Weisschatten is German for, if you directly translate, would mean white shadow. That irreversibly destroys general perception process upon being perceived. Another board with the same image is located behind the outer shell access hatch, placed in such a way as to obstruct the view of the region within 3 meters of the shell's geometric center, should the outer shell access hatch be opened while the inner shell is compromised. Shell integrity checkup is to be conducted at least once every 2 weeks. Inside the containment volume, the following objects are also situated: 2 spontaneous decoherence generators, I assume that means speculated, right? Product 2470-A, and generators has a footnote that says destruction of the phenomenon of quantum entanglement. Oh god, we talk about quantum physics here. Ooh shit, we're going in scientific. 3 zero-veil generators, speculated product-B, codename used as a means of suppression of redacted. A telepathy device, suppression device created using SCP, speculated product-C. It is essential to maintain a full stock of the aforementioned devices. In case stock supplies diminish, replacement devices are to be. In case stock supplies diminish, replacement devices are to be manufactured by the Foundation's corresponding facilities upon first request, as soon as possible, and with the highest priority. The operation procedures are explained in the corresponding manuals attached therein. Now, we have work regulation in the containment area. Yeah, I can see why this is going to be a long stream. All works inside the containment volume are carried out by groups of no fewer than 3 grade 4 engineers who receive appropriate training and pass qualifying examinations. Any works that have to be performed outside the central shells are to be conducted preferably using robots controlled remotely via a fiber optic cable. In case human intervention is necessary, personnel must operate wearing full body suits with fiber optic communication. All types of wireless devices are forbidden to be handled and or used inside the containment volume. Internal examination of the central shells is conducted only by people wearing special dissonance full body suits. Product-D. The suit includes a Weissschatten's paradox. I wonder if that actually has a scientific meaning. Let me look that up. Nope, it's SCP specific. Okay. Mimetic agent displaying a system with 100% external area coverage. A spectrum correcting system built into the HUD. Said system is attuned to the wavelengths the luminophore compound cells radiate in and makes the mimetic agent safe for perception by suppressing specific colors. A spatial image filtering system with high precision inertial control that blocks the views of the area within 3 meters of the shell's geometric center. A chronometer with voice countdown for preset periods. Any forms of interaction between the personnel inside and outside the shells are forbidden. Staff members inside the shells communicate between each other using a set of hand signals. The procedure of planned internal examination of the shells is performed along the following steps. Okay, here we go. Step 1. Synchronizing chronometers may be done immediately before entering the containment volume. 2. Inertial control system calibration is to be done right in front of the external shell's hatch to avoid error accumulation. 3. Activating the image filtration system, switching on the mimetic agent display. 4. Opening the external shell hatch, starting 35-minute countdown. 2 employees enter the external shell. The third one stays outside and locks the hatch behind them. 5. One of the incomers examines the inner surface of the external shell for any integrity violation. The second examines the outer surface of the inner shell. Regulated procedure time 15 minutes. 6. After finishing the procedure 5, the employees, considering the time left, make a decision on entering the inner shell. In case a negative decision is reached, see number 10. In case of positive decision, number 7, opening the hatch of the inner shell starting the 15-minute countdown. One of the employees enter the inner shell, the other remains inside the external shell and locks the hatch from the outside. 8. Examination of the inner surface by the incomer. It is essential to avoid any contact with the area within 3 meters of the geometrical center during the examination. Also, by the way, I need to check something. I just now realized that There we go. Wrong mic. Wrong mic was being used. Okay. It's essential to avoid any contact with the area within 3 meters of the geomedical center during the examination. Regulated procedure time 15 minutes. 9. Regardless of the outcome of procedure 8, when finishing the 15-minute countdown, the incomer is to be in front of the hatch being ready to leave. The hatch is to be opened by the employee outside exactly by the time the countdown is finished, and only for 20 seconds, and closed and locked afterwards regardless of circumstances. Number 10. By the time the 35-minute countdown is finished, both employees are to stay near the external shell's hatch. The hatch is to be opened by the employee outside exactly by the time the countdown finishes and only for 40 seconds, and closed and locked afterwards regardless of circumstances. 11. Leaving the containment volume, the briefing in progress report to the operator. In case procedures were not carried out in full, another team is to be prepared for second examination. The second examination is to be conducted completely regardless of progress of the previous team. Employees failing to leave the... This is one of the longest special containment procedures I ever see. I agree. I'm in the same boat with you, and we're not even done yet. There's 2 more parts. There's 2 more parts, dude. Like, whew. I hope the description, I assume the description, it's kind of wild to have this long ass containment procedure, and the description is like half of what it seems to be. But yeah, let's go on, employees failing to leave the shells on time are considered KIA. Oops, I accidentally. No rescue missions are to be attempted under any circumstances. In case said employees are found during subsequent examinations, they are to be removed from the shells and remanded to medical staff immediately. Taking off the suit and providing medical care is forbidden for any employees other than medical staff. Emergency protocols. Transmission of information about the outside world into the shell is in a form perceivable by the object, see description, even if not having observable consequences, is to be classified as a containment breach and aborted as soon as possible. Termination of any employees is permitted to, if required, to enact such. However, it should also be kept in mind that a deviation from the routine containment mode, as long as it remains stable, is preferable to frequent and sudden changes of the object's surroundings. For this reason, containment restoration is to be conducted through decisive action, guaranteeing solid and sustainable. How long was the sentence? That was half the paragraph, dude. In case of pressurization of the main containment volume, all turbomolecular pumps are to be shut off in order to prevent overload. All rotary vane pumps are to operate in overdrive mode to sustain a maximally... Is that a word? Maximally? I thought maximum. Means to the greatest highest degree possible or in manner relating to achieving a maximum. I never seen. Okay, hold on. Because usually when you say meaning, it also has a nope, not this time.
Maximally.
Okay, I may have heard of it then, because it does sound familiar, but I never actually saw it written down. Yeah, no, it is a word, duh. Yeah, okay. Achievable vacuum during recovery operations. If the air pressure inside of the containment volume exceeds 1... I'm going to make fun of that one. People were like, well, you never heard of that, of maximally? Really? I'm like, yeah, no, you're right, I have heard of it. But I gotta say, it just for some reason jumped at me as a word. I'm like, is that really a thing? Exceeds 1 mbar, all the operations are to be conducted in sound dampening mode. In case of visible integrity loss in any of the central shells, that shell is considered beyond repair. I also feel like sometimes, because I read all these stuff, that certain words just like Leave my brain. To be fair, the only thing I can say, it's not an excuse, but the only thing I can say is that English is not my first language. But still, I've spoken English for so many years that maximally should have been, yeah, a word that I'm like, yeah, of course it is a word. Okay, I have to stop being hung up on that one. Instead, a new shell with a diameter 2 meters greater than the current outer shell is to be constructed around the central shells if the outer shell is intact, or 2 successive shells if both current shells are damaged. After a new shell is put into operation, the old one is to be dismantled, removed, and remelted. The current dimensions of the containment volume allow to conduct the procedure as many as 5 times. Hence, after 4th occurrence of shell integrity loss and subsequent containment as described above, site personnel is to initiate work on containment volume expansion. In case of significant damage to both of the shells and thus an inevitable breach of containment volume, Protocol Alpha is to be engaged. High Command must be notified of the situation immediately through a special hotline. Contained sub-objects of little avail classified as safe or Euclid, preferably extra-dimensional, info or cognito-hazardous, self-replicating upon destruction, or having a particularly complex structure, see approved SCP list, are to be brought to the breach zone before any containment and restoration procedures take place. The problem with SCPs like this with a long-ass containment procedure is that I don't really understand half the things the procedure mean. By the time I have arrived at the description, I've forgotten about it. Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. That's a fair critique, yeah. This measure is supposed to mitigate the object's destructive influence by forcing it to spend a significant amount of time fully analyzing the complexity and inconsistencies of the aforementioned objects, while the unique properties should not allow SCP-2470 to make any substantial conclusions regarding the properties and laws of baseline reality. Any risks related to the object's interactions are considered justified. Permanent deployment of some of the objects from the approved SCP list inside the facility of Area 141 is currently under review. In case of a BI before invasion class or TCF total containment failure, class scenarios, if any local factors directly compromise the safety of Area 141, by the order of the O5 Council, Protocol Beta must be engaged in order to neutralize SCP-2470. For 4 executors, 2 main, 2 backup are to be selected from the approved list and delivered to Area 141. The subjects must receive instruction and conduct test procedures on D-class personnel. The main and backup pairs afterwards stand on duty with a 5-minute notice to start the procedure, until Protocol Beta is cancelled by a direct order from O5 Council. At the order of High Command, or in case of sudden aggravation of the situation and loss of communication with the headquarters, the neutralization procedure is to be enacted under Area Command responsibility. After it is confirmed to be successful, the executor, both pairs, and all the D-class personnel located in Area 141 are to be terminated. Any documentation relevant to SCP-2470 is to be destroyed, and Area 141 is to be evacuated and destroyed via thermonuclear charge. Get rid of him! Neutralization of the object, regardless of all the complexities of its containment, is the very last resort and is to be avoided until absolutely necessary. Is absolutely a word? Making fun of myself now. For this reason, subjects from the potential executors list are not to be present in Area 141 unless Protocol Beta is engaged. Organizational aspects, the last part of the fucking containment procedure. Due to the containment procedure complexity and unacceptable potential cost of error, a training complex has been established on Area 141 grounds for the purpose of general simulation of the containment volume and the containment area. All personnel involved with containment are to regularly practice under supervision of an authorized employee with level 3 clearance and take qualification tests at least monthly. Any non-routine works and procedure can only be carried out after training course simulations and rehearsals show a 100% success rate. Exceptions to this rule are permissible only on private order of area director in situations of extreme time pressure. Medical staff are to conduct physical examination of the working group prior to entering the containment volume and examine all Area 141 personnel personnel monthly. Prior to the deployment in Area 141, each member of the medical staff is to read, understand, and sign the classified document X attached with a level 4 clearance employee as witness. Significant psychological tension caused by a large amount of important and demanding procedure associated with every entry into the containment volume, such as wearing and checking a full body suit, passing through the 4 airlocks, calibrating numerous systems, working inside the shells under severe time pressure and others, necessitates extra attention to personal mental health. Engineers assigned to the containment volume are to be given additional vacations. Any and all research of SCP-2470 is currently forbidden. Access to the archive of previously gained/retrieved information for purposes of analysis is allowed for employees with level 3 clearance or above by direct approval of at least 2 or 5 members. As it is suspected that some members of the sect, presumably responsible for the object's appearance or connected to it, may be still alive and at large, Area 141 is considered to be under aggressive threat. Although there's no reason to believe the aforementioned cultists to have any significant forces at their disposal, they possess information about the object that may potentially help them attract the interest of and gain support from other potentially dangerous radical organizations. Because of that, MTF and, apart from the main duties, are charged with monitoring the activity of any pro-apocalyptic groups and to actively instigate cultists to contact them by creating front radical organizations and sects. That was all the containment, special containment procedures that took us roughly around 20 minutes to read. So, let's see what it actually is. Okay, guys. Let's see what this SCP is. Description. SCP-2470 is a specific existential entity or a perceptive element which is objectively an initial manifestation of a Z-class scenario. Due to insuperable obstacles related to its perception, the object appearance, if it has any, remains unknown. Its current locus is determined indirectly based on the area of effect it produces. Said effect is manifested through the instantaneous disappearance of any object or event perceived by SCP-2470 from objective reality. First and foremost, this applies to the most proximate aspects which are directly accessible to the object's senses. Thereafter, as the object accumulates knowledge, gains abstract understanding of the nature of things, and makes generalizations, the effect extends to the phenomena themselves, their direct and later indirect consequences. For instance, during the initial recovery operation, it was noted that the sound of the agent's footsteps, said agents were obstructed from sight by smoke screens, was starting to drown out due to the sonic oscillations having stopped. Soon afterwards, large volumes of the air itself started to spontaneously disappear, which caused hyperbolic effects. This was followed by the disappearance of several agents' legs, and finally the agents disappeared wholly and completely. In a similar fashion, at first several clots of the aforementioned smoke screens disappeared, but the effect soon spread to whole smoke clouds, followed by all active smoke grenades at the operation site. This culminated with disappearance of all smoke grenades of that specific type at the operation site, regardless of their being within range of the object's perception. Okay, so the more it learns about something, it's like, oh, this is a smoke grenade. The smoke comes from that. The more things will start to vanish. Gotcha. So if it's if it starts to for example, learn about phones, because it sees like a Android or like a Samsung phone like I have, it probably will slowly make Samsung phones vanish from existence. At least in a spatial area. It doesn't seem like it's just all over the world, because that would be crazy. Can you imagine every single smoke grenade in the world just vanishes? Disappearance of soil caused a crater of up to 200 meters deep to manifest at the location of the object's discovery. Apparently, the object was somehow confused at every demanifestation volume of soil brought more into view, and it slowed the process down. That's good. It did not manage to realize the Earth as a limited and finite entity. Ooh, if it did, though, the Earth would have been gone. Due to the constant disappearance of air, atmospheric pressure has dropped at the operation site, and a steady high current cyclone has formed. Since any generalization of reasons behind any phenomena inevitably lead to using abstract concepts and eventually lead to logically reasoning the universe existence per se, SCP-2470 is classified as a potential Z-class hazard. Yeah, because if it if it learns about the world and then learns about the galaxy, everything could vanish. According to the analysis of gathered data, it was reliably established that the object possesses the following sensors: a perception of electromagnetic radiation in an extremely wide frequency range, including the visible spectrum, which is analogous to vision; a highly sensitive perception of mechanical stimuli, which is analogous to tactile sense and hearing; a perception of "they look expunged." The following sensors are reasonably likely to be possessed by the object: a direct yet severely limited telepathic perception, a perception of certain quantum effects, particularly quantum superposition of states as a singular phenomenon. That case, I'm pretty sure, is end of reality scenario. That will make the most sense, right? Because like, it's not an end of the world or end of a city or anything, or end of like knowledge or anything like that. It's just everything. It's just everything gone. Not to be confused with K class, which is just end of the world. Gotcha. Yeah, Z case just sounds like anything we can think of is gone. The later hypothesis is related to the events that happened during Redacted. Wait, hold on. Friends that also reasonably like to be possessed by the object, a direct yet severely limited telepathic perception, a perception of certain quantum effects, particularly quantum superposition of states as a singular phenomenon. I did not read that part. The later hypothesis is related to the events that happened during Redacted, as well as damage and demanifestation of, at least, equipment sensors and human sensory organs during attempts to perceive the object directly, which is apparently related to the wave function collapse that inevitably accompanies an act of perception and is seemingly perceivable by SCP-2470. Moreover, this hypothesis, combined with the conclusion regarding data expunge, provides an explanation to how the object manages to avoid exposure to Weisschotten paradox. Apparently, the effect of quantum entanglement of the object is in present time with itself in an immediate future allows it to foresee the damaging effect of the mimetic agent without even having a concept of its nature, and based on that information allows SCP-2470 to refuse to perceive it, to close its eyes, metaphorically speaking. However, the fact that this modus operandi remains its only manner of existence for years in containment counts in favor of the paradox adequacy and the proficiency of the developed neutralization procedures, which is based on a forceful inoculation of the destructive meme bypassing the object sensors. Information is removed from public access. Deletion pending. Level 4 clearance is required to continue. Enter valid code. Well, I'm giving the code in. Access granted. According to another hypothesis, the idea of SCP-2470 being a cognizing entity is not quite correct, as a Z-class scenario can leave behind neither any knowledge of the current existence, nor any entities possessing such knowledge. Actually, the origin of the effect resulting in a Z-class scenario lies not within the object as we got used to thinking, but within the whole other outer world. It is not the object that tears fragments away from reality, but the reality itself discharging these fragments and casting them into the most fitting place, into the unfillable unbeing that is SCP-2470, as soon as they form a strong enough causal connection with it. So is it saying like it's not vanishing, it's being stored? Is that what I'm understanding here? Or more like absorbed than being stored? Unbeing as the true nature of the object originates as a result of every successful attempt to perceive it. Thus, as unbeing is a priori singular, part of the object manifests on the information medium or inside the perceiver's mind, destroying it directly. On this hypothesis, this explains the above referenced effects on perception. From this perspective, the cognizing nature of the object appears to be merely an illusion caused by its dualistic position relative to the forgetting nature of the universe, though a virtual cognition related to the object created by this impact appears to be indistinguishable from a real one. Moreover, the concept of real and objective appear to be conventional and hardly applicable in a given context. Cognition has a footnote that says, a cognoscitive quantum, a quasi-particle introduced in the theory of redacted as an elementary particle, a model mind mediator. This is what determines the object's inability to perceive Weisschotten's paradox, but in this case it appears to be an objective and natural limitation, not related to a wild refusal to perceive. From this point of view, the effectiveness of the developed neutralization procedure seems very dubious. It's like a giga ultra mega black hole. It kind of sounds like it, right? It's not only a black hole, but it also can only absorb things it perceives. Because isn't like the whole point of a black hole that it just absorbs whatever it comes into contact, which I guess is a way of perceiving, right? Contact is a way for a black hole to perceive something. So yeah, this being is a black hole that's just like, in the moment it like perceives something, it gains knowledge of that thing, it's just God, this author, the TBAPB, decided to write an entire like science thesis and then just leave. They're like, I'm gonna write this. I don't know how many SCPs they wrote, but it would be fun if they only wrote one and this is the only one they wrote. It's just like, I'm gonna write the thickest scientific explanation of a black hole that just happens to be on Earth, and then leave. just never come back. Recovery log. The first report of the object's anomalous activity came on 2000 at about o'clock from an airplane observer of the FGU Avialesokrana. Footnote says, a Russian government agency charged primarily with the aerial management of forest fires, who was conducting fire safety monitoring in the redacted area. The pilot reported a huge deforested area centered around a wide, deep cavity. Yeah, it's just communication with the pilot ceased soon afterwards. Probably got absorbed as well. The report was intercepted by undercover Foundation agents in the MES or MES, and a reconnaissance operation with mobile task forces was arranged. Initial hypotheses regarding the object's nature were defining it as something akin to a miniature black hole. However, primary analysis disproved this point of view and demonstrated, hey, as you said, miniature black hole, there we go, except it's a giga black hole. However, primary analysis disproved this point of view and demonstrated the true nature of the anomaly. Several methods of containment and/or neutralization, such as Dildo Sponge, had been applied unsuccessfully and were followed by a proposal to use Weisschotten's paradox in order to neutralize the object. Okay, you guys have said Weisschotten at least 6 times now, and I still have no idea what that even means. This attempt was a partial success. Neutralization was not achieved, however it was discovered that the paradox carrier was not susceptible to the object's effect, which allowed the Foundation to capture SB2470 after several unsuccessful attempts and to develop the current containment protocols. Total losses throughout the whole operation amount to employees. Is this maybe based on the whole the abyss back phrase? I can see what you mean, but I'm not quite sure. I'm not fully on board with that as an inspiration. Excerpt from Dr. Report. There was a remarkable episode during one of the first attempts of neutralization when, at the suggestion of Agent, a mirror was placed within the object's field of view. It seems logical that after seeing its own reflection, the object would neutralize itself. However, though the other things reflected in the mirror was subjected to its effect to the full, the object itself did not undergo any changes. Okay. interesting. Instead, it destroyed the mirror, although this action took it 12 seconds more than it usually took for items of similar scale. Also, it is obvious that the object has not been self-destructing due to self-awareness for years already. This can be rationalized by one of the following hypotheses. The object is either able to apply its effects selectively or is passively non-susceptible to them. The object is either unable to perceive itself or is avoiding that. The object itself is uncognizable. The cognizable nature of the object is actually the object itself. Any sort of cognition results in the object's duplication, which equals to the object growing to its invisible nature. The last hypothesis did expunged for more precise control. According to the data gathered later on, a small village of which had been abandoned since at least the late 80s, had been situated at the initial discovery site. However, a few years before the anomaly appeared, it had been occupied with members of an unidentified radical pro-apocalyptic religious community. Oh, for fuck's sake, did they summon some sort of god? Did they summon some sort of all-eating, absorbing deity? The evidence of the activity is sketchy and inconsistent, though it suggests that they were expunged. Dude, I think somebody summoned something that they shouldn't have summoned. Somebody wanted anime babes and got a black hole instead. Addendum 1. The O5 Memorandum to Area 141 personnel. Dear colleagues, after the command of Area 141 informed me of the certain popular perceptions among your community, I saw a right to explain certain particularities regarding your policy on SCP-2470. Yes, this object is exactly as dangerous as you were told, or probably even more. Thus far, our only salvation was the fact the embryonic state of its mind cannot comprehend many of the things we consider obvious. That air is not nothingness and exists not just when it feels a breeze. That Earth is a celestial body of a finite source. That the sun is not a flat, shining spot on the horizon. That people, despite how different they are, all represent humankind as a whole, and so on. Yes, it is essential to keep the object in complete isolation and to avert any transmission of the most insignificant information at any cost. It learns very fast, and we can never be sure which grain of knowledge it lacks to be given a nudge to the ideas of space, time, infinity, and universes. Yes, it is both difficult and dangerous to contain such an object, and yes, we do possess a procedure of its neutralization. Why are we not engaging it? Yes, Doctor Sensei, why are you not engaging it? The reason is because the containment itself is of huge strategic value to us. The thing is, according to research on this object, simultaneous occurrence of two ZK class scenarios is fundamentally impossible. Therefore, as long as one of them is being contained, we guarantee that the others, which might not be so easily controlled anyhow, will not happen. Are you saying you're using this SCP to contain or destroy other Z-class scenarios? Is that what I'm understanding here? Using this Keter SCP as a technical formula one? In fact, we were very lucky that this object took the form that can be contained at acceptable cost, so it would not be sensible to lose such an opportunity. Therefore, containment will be carried out as long as we can manage, with neutralization being planned only for such an extreme case when the object's direct threat will be big enough to negate all of our prospect of carrying this policy out in the future, along with the future itself. Through thick and thin, you have to know that your work guarantees humanity continued existence. Treat it properly. Secure, contain, protect. Sincerely yours, O5. Okay. That's a very risky move. That's very risky, I gotta say. Addendum 2. List of enactors and the methodology for procedures of the object's neutralization. The procedure is to be performed by two subjects possessing confirmed telepathic abilities rated at no less than 9 points on the scale, with a satisfactory results for -QT spatial awareness test. no history of early exposure, and no impairments such as color blindness that affect visual and color perception. In case the list is down to 30 positions or fewer for whatever reason, use of SCP for development of telepathic abilities in suitable candidates is authorized for the purpose of replenishing the list. As of today, individuals are on the list, namely, they're expunged. Immediately after protocol beta is engaged, there is preliminary measure that consists of building an additional shell according to the requirement for inner shell breach scenarios. The executors must be kept in ignorance of the true purpose of the area, a cover story of it being a telepathy research center, and the process being a test of their abilities is to be adhered to. Additionally, the subject must not know about each other's existence. Violation of this condition is grounds for immediate termination and a selection of new candidates. The neutralization procedure is performed using an adapted version of Weisschotten's paradox, divided into two subcomponents, both safe to be perceived separately. If we don't get an explanation what the hell the Weisschotten paradox is and how it works, I'm going to lose my mind. The subject's task is to memorize one of the subcomponents and to implant it synchronously into the mind of the entity, which is located in the center of the shell. Demonstrated to them using live transmission. The active -C telepathy suppression devices will be switched off 5 seconds before the subjects are authorized to act, and should be kept offline for at least 15 but no more than 25 seconds. Trial runs for this procedure are conducted at the on-site training complex using a Class D test subject. At least 3 successful trial runs in succession are required before the performers are cleared for work. When taking part in the actual procedure, the subjects must not know it is not a trial run. After the procedure is performed, the first inspection is conducted by switching off the inner shell power for 30 minutes. In case the inner shell shows no change in its electrical performance and has no other sign of structural damage, the inspection is considered passed. The second inspection is conducted visually by means of employees entering the central shell wearing protective suits when the spatial image filtration system turned off. If the procedure is successful, the shell should not have anything inside. And then Addendum X, Addendum 3, Document X, medical staff only. God. This document is intended for the medical staff of Area 141 only. Divulgence of any details contained herein is the result in termination. Any other employee displaying knowledge of the contents of this document is to be, aside from an appropriate disciplinary action, treated with an A-class amnestic and transferred to another Foundation facility. The medical staff of Area 141 are to pay extra attention to psychological health assessment of employees during periodical personnel surveys. Aside from disorders that are natural for conditions of strenuous work, special effort must be put into discovering the following complex of symptoms. Repetitive dreams featuring an abstract pulsing and growing black mass identified as SB2470 by the examinee. Total lack of any dreams soon thereafter in less than a week. Flattening of affect, progressive indifference to surroundings, and reactions becoming mechanical. Repeating episodes in which the examinee looks at common everyday objects for a long time with an uncommon curiosity. A lack of any discernible dreams lasting for 2 weeks is considered a sufficient warrant for suspension and quarantine assessment. The quarantine implicates a termination of any forms of communication with any personnel not involved in the process of assessment. To ensure reliable diagnosis, a trust relationship with the personnel is to be set and maintained. It is recommended to present the practice of regular discussions of dreams as a preliminary phase of psychological survey, aimed at distraction from the current situation and relaxation. The keen interest in nightmares can be explained as a search for hidden reasons for nervousness and analysis of suppressed fears. The aforementioned diagnosis should be given top priority for personnel involved in procedures taking place inside the containment volume and central shells, and especially for those who spend unscheduled time inside for whatever reasons. The latter ought to be quarantined immediately and thoroughly examined for no less than 2 weeks. Everyone who spent more than an hour and a half inside the outer shell or more than an hour inside the inner shell are to be considered to fail the inspection regardless of observed state. All diagnosed cases are to be processed as soon as possible. Employees with diagnosed symptoms are to be put in an artificial coma on the pretense of an insignificant surgical intervention, given 2 complete cycles of D-class amnestic treatment, and subsequently are euthanized by a new toxin injection and cremated. The rest of personnel are to be given a cover story implicating that the employee is dismissed for medical reasons and transferred to another Foundation facility. You will receive the instructions on covering the above referenced activity from your ISD case officers. What a read that was. That took us a little bit of time, didn't it? How much of them? Casabona, I feel like you only get to like hear about maybe 3 SCPs today before you have to go to bed. Cause yeah, there's that one took a while. That one took a while. It's this sounds like a black hole that can only absorb matter it gains knowledge of. If you tell it, if you show it something, it will learn what it is, and that same object will be absorbed in its vicinity. Normally I like complex long SCPs like these, but I think that right now I'm not in the correct mood to read this type of SCP, so I didn't understand almost anything. I'll have to reread someday. Yeah, no, that's fair. That's fair. There was quite a lot. I think it's the fact that like the special containment procedure was extremely long, so we had to deal with all that. The best way that I can describe it is that like not only is it a I would say sentient to some extent black hole, because like it learns, it can adapt, it can understand, not adapt really, it doesn't need to adapt to anything, it just learns and understands to a certain extent, of course, because like it hasn't learned that the Earth is a limited resource, because if it does, it probably would have just absorbed the entirety of the Earth. But yeah, I am kind of just imagine it's just like to make it to stupefy it. It's Kirby. It's Kirby. Sees something, is aware that it exists, absorbs it, swallows it, contains its power. But of course, unlike Kirby, this SCP does not gain the power of whatever it absorbs it, but it seems to just like take it away. And the reason why the O5 was like saying, hey, there cannot be 2 Z classes because we have this guy, definitely sounds like they are using this SCP to contain other big boy SCPs that they are afraid of. Which, yeah, is a interesting tactic. Very risky though, because like if you're all dead because of this SCP, then it doesn't matter. Okay, Kirby, got it. Yeah, that's how it's not how I see it, but it's like if I had to like simplify it to the extreme simple terms, it's Kirby.